Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so the EZA for Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku is going to release on JP sometime around 12 hours after this video comes out. I always like to put up the guides a little bit before, so we're going to go through, as always with my team building guides, we'll go through some top picks, a couple of honourable mentions, and as always, if there's any units you think that I missed or didn't talk about enough, let me know down below in the comments section. So, Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku, it's a pretty standard 30 stage EZA. You can't stun past stage 5, you can't attack lower past stage 15, and you can't seal past stage 20. Now, the one thing I notice about this, it's usually stage 20 that they add in the full-on restrictions for which units get reduced in damage. But there's normally one earlier on like this, so we can see AGL types and super types get 80% damage reduction, but then there isn't another one added before the end. So basically, obviously you want to use full extreme, and the only typing you don't really want to bring is AGL, because you get that 80% damage reduction. So other than that, typical 30 stages, do all 30 to get all of the medals, go past 30 if you want to farm Zenny. Obviously if you do all of the missions as well, you get an extra 4 stones as long as you're using at least one character from Margin Power, which obviously you should be. And of course you do get a bunch of the tech orbs and 11 tech type Kais. I always like the single type EZAs because you only need to use 5 on the actual unit, and then you have 6 spare that you can use for something else. So pretty straightforward. And yeah, the category is Margin Power. So if we look at Margin Power, it is actually a pretty small category overall, especially if we just look at like the TURs and the LRs, bearing in mind we don't want to use any of the super type ones. So this is a pretty small selection, but obviously some units are going to be better than others. So jumping straight in, we have the LR Boo Tanks. He is probably going to be the best leader to choose for the team, just because he is better overall than the Tech Exchange Boo. Also, his leader skill, he does give 4 key, which is useful for LRs. Plus, the Margin units did get a lot better with the link level update, because Margin became a key link. But obviously, if you don't have any of the units that you're going to use with that link at level 10, then they basically, you know, most Boo units don't have any key links outside of that. So having the extra key on the leader skill from this guy could be very useful as well. So obviously you can transform him fairly early on, turn 4. You're probably not going to get that far until the later stages. And then once you transform him into Buhan, it's pretty much going to be all over after that. This unit is insanely powerful. So another reason, even if you are going to run the Tech Exchange Boo for the leader skill, you would bring this guy on the team. Now, the only reason you would bring the Tech Exchange Boo is he has 170 across the board. He does actually also have 4 key on his leader skill. So, technically, his leader skill is better. He's just a worse unit. So, if you do have him, it's probably still worth using him as the leader for that extra HP. Especially with some of the units on the team, you are going to have a lot more health, which will make those later stages a little bit easier, because you can't heal in an EZA, but so many of the Margin units heal either from links or from their passive. Some heal on super attack, so the more HP you have, obviously the longer you can survive, and with this team, the more you can top it up with your attacks and start of turn abilities as well. So obviously this guy, he does have damage reduction, but he doesn't really have any defense. So if he takes a super, he will still get hit fairly hard. Turn 3, he becomes the Evil Boo. So then he does have a built-in chance to dodge. So he gets a little bit better defensively. But then you're never going to get to like turn 7 and see Super Boo. I would imagine even if you go past stage 30 to farm Zenny, you're probably not going to get to stage 7. Maybe way later into the event, but even some of the ones that I've gone to, like, you know, over stage 200, you don't normally go that long, because either you have won or you have died by 7 turns. So if you're just going to stage 30 or even just a few past it, you're never going to see Super Boo, but he is technically the better leader to use. So next up we have the INT Easy Buhan. Obviously if you're bringing the LR, they link incredibly well once the LR is transformed. But even before then, like post EZA, his EZA is a little bit older now, so I feel like in some of the harder content he's starting to look a little bit more dated. But for this, obviously he's going to be perfectly fine. He's got the type advantage, he's got very good defense overall, but of course he is a nuking style unit, so the more orbs you can pick up, the more impressive he's going to look. and obviously his defense is kind of going to vary. Plus he does heal you a ton based on the amount of orbs you pick up as well, so he can be very useful on the team even if you're just using him for that healing ability. So next up we have the INT Easy Kid Boo. Probably going to be one of the hardest hitters against this Goku just because of the type advantage as well as the raw power that he has. He also does give Margin Power allies a little bit of a buff, so it makes it easier for everybody to super attack, and he heals on super as well, so he's obviously a very useful unit to have in like the second slot to soak up some damage in slot 1. Then he goes off and heals, gives you a nice big heal from the super attack and does a ton of damage as well. So obviously he's a very, very strong unit. His defense isn't the best, but he does have type advantage, so he should be pretty good. And then one of his best linking partners is the Easy Buff Boo. So they share a lot of links together, whereas a lot of the Boo Tanks and Boo Hans don't link super well with these guys. So they link really well together, and this guy is really good after his Easy A. He does raise defense on super attack. The more HP you have, the more stats he has as well. So right from the start, he's going to be doing some big damage. And he does have damage reduction at the start as well. And then he recovers 5% HP at the end of the turn if he was hit. So this team just has so many different ways for you to recover HP. That they're all going to be very useful in keeping you alive. So then we have STR Super Boo. So people really like to meme on this unit. He's obviously outdated now, but like at Rainbow and linked up with the LR physical Boo, he's actually really, really good. And obviously if you can get him to transform into Boo-Han, then they share all the same links except for legendary power, and then he is very, very good. The only problem is he does transform on turn 5, so for a lot of people, depending on the power level of your team, even up to stage 30 when you're finishing off like the final stage, you might not actually see him transform at all. But he is still pretty solid pre-transformation, especially once you've got some dupes into him and leveled up his links. So then we have the STR Evil Boo. So the reason why this guy is very good is he launches an additional super attack guaranteed and has a 50% chance to dodge when you're fighting against a Majin Buu Saga category enemy. And obviously Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku is on the Majin Buu Saga. So if you use this guy in this Easy A, he has a 50% chance to dodge. He automatically launches an additional super, so he can be very good. He also raises attack for 6 turns, so every time he super attacks, you are going to get that little bit extra damage for a couple of turns. And his defense is reasonable. He is going to probably get hit a bit harder than some of the other people on the team if he doesn't dodge, but the 50% chance to dodge is obviously going to be very good. So he's definitely worth bringing along. Then we have the physical support Boo. So obviously this guy is a lot rarer because he's on the type banners which never come around. And usually when they do, they come around at awkward times. So most players, you should just never summon on those banners anyway. But unfortunately, it means you miss out on units like these. Like I have this guy, but with no dupes. So obviously defensively, he's not the best, but he is a nuking style unit as well. So of course, the more orbs you pick up, the more defense he's going to get and the harder he's going to hit. He heals on super attack. And then, of course, he's the extreme physical 50% support. So you'd mainly be bringing him if you are bringing the LR Boo Tanks, because then obviously he's going to give him a massive buff and allow him to deal crazy amounts of damage. So then we have Kid Boo, the classic. 50% support is obviously really, really good for everyone, not just restricted to physical types. So everyone's going to be hitting much, much harder. And once you do drop below that HP threshold, he is still giving 30% as well. So it's a pretty solid unit. He does give a little bit of ki too, which will help out the LR. And he still hits reasonably hard. But obviously with JP having the same name update, you can easily bring this guy as well as the INT one. Have the INT one on rotation with the Tech Buff Boo, and then have this guy in slot 3. And yeah, it's going to be providing a lot of support, allowing you to hit way harder. He has no abilities that heal, but he's one of the few units on the team that doesn't have one, so that's no real issue. So next up, I thought I'd mention the Good Boo, even though technically he's still an extreme unit. He's actually reasonably good after his Easy A. Like on paper, his stats don't look that crazy, but once he has received the 3 attacks to get his maximum passive maxed out, he does actually tank reasonably well. He can hit pretty decent attack stats, and then he recovers 30% HP whenever HP is 40% or less. So it's not limited to a number of times. Anytime you start the turn with this guy and you're on 40% or less HP, you get a 30% recovery. So that's really, really good. If you're finding some of the later stages a little bit hard to stay alive. Like, you're getting him super close to death, but he keeps finishing you off. Then maybe this guy is worthwhile to keep topping up your HP once it gets low. So he's definitely worth considering. His links aren't the best with some of the other Boo forms, but he can still be very worthwhile on the team, even if he's like a 3rd slot floating unit. And then finally, I thought I'd include this guy as an honourable mention, mainly because he's from the Heroes banner. So obviously, very difficult to get unless you summoned on one of the original banners that he was actually featured on. Because obviously pulling the unfeatured Heroes units is a lot more difficult. But he can be good for the team because obviously he does have type advantage. He does provide all allies with a defensive buff as long as he's above 81% HP. And then he recovers 5 HP at the start of the turn. And then if you are below the restriction, so HP 80% or less, he does still give 3 key and then he gives an attack buff. So I think it's a bit of a weird way round they did this guy, because the more health you have, he gives everybody defense. And then the lower your health, he gives everybody attack. So I guess it can help you finish off the fight if you're getting close to death. But you've got Goku's health super low as well. Gives everybody a nice little attack buff. Like I said, he's not a unit that a lot of people are necessarily going to have, but he's definitely worth considering. So looking back briefly at Margin Power, obviously LR Oob you can't use because he's a super type, so he's not going to do any damage. The Boo Piccolo, he can provide some support to people on the team, but obviously he's going to get the 80% damage reduction because he's AGL, and obviously he does have type disadvantage as well, but he has a 50% chance to dodge built in, so if you are missing like a final unit to bring, he can still be useful in providing support, but you're just going to have to really hope that he gets those dodges, otherwise he's going to take quite a bit of damage. Android 21 is not the worst pick in the world. She heals on super attack, but she's getting a little bit outdated now, definitely needs an Easy A, so her defense isn't the best. Same with the STR Fat Boo. He has a nuking style passive, but they're specifically for STR orbs. So for him to tank reasonably well in this event, you'd probably have to pick up quite a lot of orbs. And then there you go. That's kind of it for the TURs. So there you go. That is the top picks and honorable mentions. Like I said at the beginning, if you think I missed out anyone or we should go into more detail about one of the units, let me know down below. Obviously, let us know your team builds that you're going to use. And if anyone else has any further questions, obviously feel free to ask them down below as well. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.